Yeah, so maybe, start from the beginning, right? I started my globalization career from the linguist side, actually, for a company called LL Bean. It's an outdoor gear company in Freeport, Maine. That's in the US, right? They are the original producer of the famous Bean boots. I don't know if you've heard of it, or maybe more commonly known as duck boots. I was hired to maintain the voice of the company in the Japanese translation of their catalog business. And later, I took on the PM role in helping them launch their first ever international e-commerce business in Japan. And I didn't know anything about the globalization industry before, and this is how I got in, and rather unexpectedly or unplanned. And I was at LL Bean for 9 years, and after that I took a little break and lived in Moscow, Russia for a couple of years, and I'll spare you the details until the next time. But when I came back to the US in 2008, I joined EMC. That's the enterprise storage company now, is a part of the Dell Tech family, right? And I started off as a PM, managing all kinds of projects and programs, including product localization, marketing, digital e-commerce, legal, and services, and pretty much everything. And that really helped me establish a very broad understanding of project and program management, and really to understand the challenges and the trend in different areas of the business. Now I'm a senior manager of Globalization Program Management, responsible for leading the program management team and overseeing the programs that my team manages, which include marketing, digital, legal, and event globalization. Yeah, so volunteering for the GALA Dabbling Program Committee was one of the highlights for me this year, or maybe last year, and I would say one of the most enriching experiences I ever had. And I didn't know what to expect in the beginning. I've never done this before, and I knew that we had a huge responsibility of setting a theme, right, and of the event, and selecting the topics that are relevant to a wide range of audiences. But it just turned out to be a great opportunity to learn about the organization and how the GALA conference is put together, from the program perspective. Also, again, it was something very new to me to get involved in an organization like GALA in any capacity, really, and collaborate with others in industry that I may not have had a chance to meet or work with, if it weren't for this opportunity. So, it's been a great networking opportunity. And, it's also, it was, I guess, totally different from my day-to-day. So, it was really exciting. And, I've been in the industry for over 20 years and knew of GALA, but I've always been sort of, mostly a passive user of content and webinars and, other things. I think for me, something magical happened by actively, getting involved. So I would highly recommend anyone with, good understanding of the industry trends, right, the challenges, and different areas of the localization businesses to take part of the program committee, or really any other volunteer positions at GALA. In fact, I really enjoyed it so much that I applied for another volunteer position for the next session or next season. Yeah, so the interpreting technologies say, interestingly, a lot of things happen at the same time for me. Last year and this year, I started off from applying for the speaking opportunity at GALA Dublin. Then I was selected to, be one of the program committee, right? And at the same time, I was looped into the opportunity to co-modulate the interpreting technology thing as well. So, the SIG has been around for a while, right? But based on what's being established, we wanted to really focus on, strengthening the information sharing and collaboration piece of the mission this year, particularly on the, quickly evolving technology landscape, right? And we do have a few interesting meetings and webinar topics coming up. So, I'm really hoping that, we can gain a little bit more traction and engagement from the SIG members. You probably know that this is my favorite topic. And, when I say total event globalization, it means providing a consistent end-to-end language experiences for the global audience at an event. Typically in an event, we would offer language interpretation, or I guess could be a subtitle for a virtual one, right? But we are realizing that, adding interpretation or subtitles for, sessions alone is just not enough anymore. My favorite example that outlines what is not total event globalization is, when my POC from Japan reached out to me right before the keynote session, at an event, and said that his customer knows that we are offering interpretation for the keynotes, but they don't know how to access it. That's all because the information was in English or, not in their language, right? So the idea of total event globalization is to, make sure that there are some kind of, translated contents available from the very beginning of the customer engagement to the very end, so that at least, the audience would know what is available in their language and how to access it. So, in what modern event globalization requires strategic planning, but the challenges with that are maybe two main challenges. First, I would say the lack of understanding on the event organizer side, regarding the benefits of adding languages or the impact of not adding them, right? We often forget about end-to-end customer experiences from a language perspective. But, for instance, when 50% of the audience are coming from, outside of North America, right? For instance, it would certainly make sense to consider the experiences for non-English speakers, right? But in many cases, that end-to-end piece is, lacking today. So, the audience ends up, not knowing about the language coverage or getting a hybrid experience, both of which are, not great representation of the brand, right? And another challenge I would say is the budget constraint. It's real. And unfortunately, the budget is often the key driver of the globalization scope. And, we have no control over it, unless, especially I should say, if we don't talk, if we don't have that conversation, with your stakeholders, early in the planning stage. So, as a part of the globalization team, especially at Dell, we are, well positioned to make recommendations on the language and also content localization scope and appropriate solution, different kind of technologies, right? Based on what kind of event it is, objective of the event, the location of the event, for the target audiences, and the key information to make sure that we are providing appropriate solution, language solution for Dell events. And I think we all need to be at that planning table, advocating the importance of language inclusions and accessibility. Yeah, and I think I'm gonna sort of stick to a couple of very general recommendations because I could go into specifics, but it just really depends on the different type of event. And I touched on this a little bit earlier, but I think for us, building a relationship with the event team has been very important, right? And I would highly recommend working on building that sort of trusted partnership with a team, event organizing team, I should say. We talk to the team about the impact of the hybrid event, right? Our hybrid experience, I should say, a missed opportunity to promote our brand, products, and messages, and engage the global audience in a conversation. And a lack of language support could impact the customer success ultimately. So and we can also measure and illustrate the story of impact with some of the success measures like, social media engagement and press coverage, for instance. Oops, this is Smokey. But, I get that it may not be always possible to have that sort of, intimate relationship with your event organizing team. So, I guess the next sort of possible, best practice or recommendation I would like to make is, creating a journey map with all the content and communication touch points, pre-event, during event, and post-event, and finding that minimum viable solution to help maximize or optimize, the customer experience for your event, right? So, that could include, pre-event communication to the customers, explaining what kind of languages are available, right, for which sessions and how to access them, like I was saying earlier. Also, for an event, in-person event, on-site signage in language, explaining the exact, the same thing, what and how, could be helpful. Post-event surveys in language could also help, discover, how helpful the language offering was, and, what else we can do to improve in the future. We can apply this to, in-person, virtual, and or hybrid, So, it's not to say that you have to do everything, but I think finding that, as I mentioned, the minimum viable solution for your particular event is going to be helpful. Yeah, so, my favorite topic again is event, and this is what I am very passionate about, as well. And I think the accomplishment that I'm most proud of is developing that event globalization program and a team of program managers from the ground up, right? And then also building a relationship with our stakeholders to, have a seat at the table for, event globalization conversation. And every year, our globalization footprint for events is increasing. And, we see the correlation between the utilization of the language and expansion of the total event globalization strategy. And, in most recent events, we placed translated signage all over the venue in language, right, to inform the audience what is available in their language and how to access it, using the QR code. We saw a lot of people scanning that, and we had a significant increase in the access to language this year, most likely because of it, right? And seeing that sort of positive effect of what we implement right away is pretty amazing. And that's not always easy in the globalization industry. So I would definitely take that. And I have to say that the globalization is an enabler of creating meaningful experiences, right, and connection between the brand and the customers at the global scale. So the sense of empowerment and inclusion that localization brings is truly remarkable. So I think sometimes we need to remind ourselves of that, that positive impact we are making. I would say find something you feel passionate about and find your superpower, and align those two at your workplace. I think this is important because passion fuels vision, and embracing our unique qualities can really help make a positive impact in our professional lives, right? For instance, my personal maybe example, you might have heard of Marcus Buckingham and his standout assessment. It's designed to help people discover their strengths and identify their unique standout traits in the workplace. So, borrowing his strengths assessment scale, I'm fundamentally a pioneer and creator. I love exploring new frontiers and bringing ideas and projects to life. This is one of my core strengths. And, align that with my passion for events and build that event globalization and, program and the team at Dell, right? And it's been successful, and I'm very content. I've been with the company for 15 years. And, I think the key is to find that alignment of passion and, strengths, right? And also find a mentor or people who can help you with that. If not, and that's what I try to do for my team at Dell. And that may happen organically, right? But sometimes the inspiration comes from outside. So I guess another piece of advice, if I may add, is to get involved, connect with people and reach out. And places like GALA is a great platform to gain professional connection and valuable resources to raise visibility and get inspired. I think we sometimes underestimate the professional connections, but I think it really is a great place to exchange ideas, share experiences, and learn from each other, and possibly build some kind of collaboration body. Right, it happens all the time. With your passion, our passion and strengths, we find, I think, embracing others' experiences and viewpoints and having some sort of collaborating forces, I think, really enable us to leave a profound impact on our lives, both professionally and personally.